Are we filming?
Yeah, we're filming.
Okay, so there's actually some reels in there because
Trash or cash, trash or cash. Is the idea trash or is cash? Let us know. Yes, maybe so, or for sure, it's a no. Should we stop while we ahead and turn around, or it's a go? Trash or is cash? Go on ahead, submit your vote. Hey, yo, check dig. You're now tuned in to Trash or Cash Podcast, the show where the host will present a new idea and debate whether it's trash or cash. But the final decision is solely up to you, the audience.
All right, welcome to the Trash or Cash podcast.
Thank you.
And Chloe, something with a C.
Chloe Chery.
How do I not remember that? It's like that's a rock star name.
Absolutely. It's memorable, you know.
You don't play music or anything, do you? You sing? I know you dance because you just did.
No, my mom's a pianist, so.
There you go.
But me, no.
Okay, so welcome to the Trash or Cash podcast, which is a show for entrepreneurs, me, you, by entrepreneurs, me, him, them, everybody here. So the idea is simple. A couple entrepreneurs get together, get to know each other a little bit better. And then the fun part is we pitch each other cool ideas that we might have rattling around in our head for years. Maybe we don't know what we're going to do with them. Maybe they've been bothering us for a while and we're like, I wonder. Or maybe you are already going to do it and just need some further validation if you're on the right track. Either way, we're here for it. So, but you know, ideas are one thing, and the reality is everybody has ideas, but if you don't take action, then who cares, right? So we're going to put them out there and see if our ideas are trash or cash. And I don't know where our paddles went, but I'm sure they'll show up shortly.
Let's go.
I was going to show them. Who knows whatever we come up with here. One of them might be, the next unicorn, and you being a VC, maybe you'll pick up on something and want to invest. Stranger things have happened. This podcast was a result of something similar happening. And I think you know this, but I started the Trash Meter app, the tech company, based off another podcast that I met somebody and he became my co-founder, and now we have this tech company. So great things can happen from conversations. And I know you're all about networking because that's how we met. And you have some definitely have some insight onto how networking works as a very attractive woman in it's not a male-centered world, but it's probably male-heavy.
Sure.
And for real, I wanted you on this podcast because, to be honest, there's not enough women that are, that we get to talk to and hear the other side of things and get that unique perspective. And I need more of that because I like to be balanced. And I also get tired of talking to dudes all the time. So there's that.
I'm with you on that, Jason. I really respect what you're doing here because it really just is throwing it out there. And as a woman is in a male-dominated space sometimes, I think a lot of women need to realize that men do want to work with us and cooperate with us. We got to know how to play the game like anyone. So,
amen. Because that's what it is. To be here. You will be included. You just have to find your lane. And you might not like your lane in the beginning, but if you have one, you can run that lane. And then when people try to get into your lane, they know, oh, well, that's her lane, right? And you become that girl at that point. So have I seen that? Because guys do that to each other all the time.
It's more simple than it seems.
Yeah. So what should we know about Chloe Chery if we were the first time getting to meet you? I know a little bit about you, but what do you want people out there to know about you?
Yeah, so as far as my experience, I guess, in venture capital versus the corporate world, I've for a long time been doing both, really. I started managing other people's real estate investment portfolios right out of high school. I did the good old acquisitions, pounding the phones, trying to scoop up properties, and really learned everything about the investment real estate space. And that kind of put me in the spirit to be buying and selling up little businesses that were boring or that, maybe weren't taking off. So from investment real estate, I went to commercial construction sales, and that taught me more of the contracts and the negotiating side of things. So I'm really all about, if you don't have an opportunity for formal education, get yourself out there and ask the questions and do the work and stay consistent. And really life is the best teacher. Just practicing those things for a company can give you the skills to do it for your own company.
So if I heard you correctly, you did real estate, so already an entrepreneur.
Right.
Then you do another entrepreneurial thing, which is flipping businesses. And then you said construction, and then that's the corporate world. But inside of everything you said, it was still all entrepreneurial. So in other words, when you hear the word corporate, like you don't think entrepreneurial, you think drone, yes man, cog in the chain, Century 21 jacket. Like it's like there's this automatic thinking like, oh, you're not an entrepreneur. You're not really out there really like pounding pavement. But the crazy thing is, everybody that is in the corporate, well, most that are in the corporate world do have that bone in them. They just haven't figured out the way to express it, or they're expressing it in that particular position that they're at. Maybe they're not the CEO, but they're something that, creative or something like that. They get their security and they get to go out there and be creative and have fun with it, which is still entrepreneurial because you're producing the result you wanted. You're just under your terms. Like you found the terms you wanted to do life under. We don't always respect that, but we should, because you just laid it out. Like you're there. There are entrepreneurs in that world. They just don't always get identified as that. They get identified as something else, which we should always like remember that label doesn't fit everybody.
Absolutely. So many people are waiting to take action on that, but they have to realize they already are.
Yeah, I mean, if you're producing something, you're an entrepreneur, whether it's under the corporate guys or on your own out there in the trenches, so to speak, networking like we were when we met each other, and that was a pretty cool experience. Getting to know you, seeing that how you operate, because we did talk about that. Like we were in a sea full of entrepreneurs, big event, media. Photo ops, everybody looking pretty, sweating. I was sweating because I had that jacket on and I was committed. So I couldn't take it off because I was wet. So I was like, I can't show this. But, everybody trying to look pretty, trying to gauge each other. And we talked. Right. And like I said, everybody's kind of gauging who's who and what's what and who should I talk to, almost in a Hollywood sort of way, but still cool. And I made some good connections there with you. You were one of them, and some other guests. And I'm glad I got to do that. So generally, I like to ask 3 questions of people just so that they get to know you if they're watching this. I get to know a little more something about you. Sure. And then they get to figure out if they know, and eventually are going to trust you. And you become the person that they go to for whatever the service that you're doing now. Right. Would you say the VC thing is pretty heavy? Like that's kind of your main focus?
Yes, that really is my primary focus. I still use the relationships I've cultivated over the years in construction and real estate to refer business. But really my main thing is making people's dreams come true with businesses they've always wanted to start. Did you meet that Dolan construction guy while you were there? No, I didn't get a chance.
Remind me. No, because apparently he's like the heir to and that's a pretty big name. So that you said you're in construction. I got to remember and see if I can reach out to him. He's in Louisiana or something like that. But
that would be great. I know you called me out for not introducing myself to too many people at that event. I was playing a different game there.
So talk about that. Well, okay. So I can get into the head of another person and understand. Take me through. What was your strategy that night?
Yeah, so I mean, when we have a lot going on, a lot in our lives, our minds, we're on a mission in business, and we're coming to a business event, I've really revised my approach to those networking events. Rather than walking in, rushing to meet everyone, rushing to, I guess, kind of get everyone's information, find out what they do. That might have been my approach in my younger years, but now I really sit back and relax, feel out the energy of the room, really scan around for people whose body language and demeanor kind of matches the way that I like to think and reason and behave. And I found that really leads you to the 1 or 2 people you can connect with in that event that you're going to be able to actually do work with and actually enjoy and be friends with. So it's quality over quantity for me these days.
A lot of wisdom in that. And I agree, because I kind of operate in the same sort of zone of, if I can walk out of here with like 3 good people that I actually vibed with, it's better than 100 cards that I'm not going to remember you from ever again. Right. We do business with our friends. So out of that night, I'm one connection. I'm not going to ask how that worked, but whatever. Thank you for showing up. Number 2, like who were the other sort of, you don't have to name names, but like standouts that like you wanted to keep staying connected to and network with further? Did any come to mind? Like,
absolutely, yeah. With I met some people with financial and investing backgrounds that I did have some interesting questions for, and even if we don't have any meetings or opportunities right now immediately, just being able to speak with them for a little bit and bounce things off of them. I really do feel, even though I'm more selective with networking, you can still learn from everyone. So even a 5-minute conversation can just be so rewarding. And I always try to leave everyone I speak to feeling lifted up in some kind of way.
I did. I felt a little lifted. Maybe it was the drinks. No, I'm kidding. So what are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of myself. My rapport that I've built with myself into a kind of fulfilling commitments that I make to myself every day. And just that personal relationship. And I would love for everyone to feel the same, because really when you have a good rapport with yourself, you show up better for everyone in your life. You're offering something better to everyone around you. But really your own mind and body is the best investment that we could be making, because otherwise we'd just be unfit to invest in other people.
Yeah, self-confidence is everything. And it's also what attracts people to other people. And that could be good or bad. Good, used for good or evil. Let me put it that way. The meaning is there's people out there that are super self-confident and then they sell somebody, a bag of air. But that's their game. And there's others that are self-confident because they know that if they choose to include you in their life, you're going to be better off with them than without them. And they know that, but they need you to come to that conclusion. And I feel like I'm the second more than anything, but I talk to everybody because I'm just interested in other people and what they're doing, because I'm not doing that probably,
Right. Well, Jason, and people like you who have integrity really realizes true confidence or self-confidence. It comes from fulfilling commitments to yourself. And it comes from being honest with yourself and your life. So accomplishments, really. So that's what real confidence is, not faking it.
The filling commitments to yourself is key, because just like today we discussed, like so many things kind of went sideways,
right? But
you still show up. And it's like, you know what? It ain't everything it was supposed to be, but let me just see what happens. I mean, some of it worked, and some of the things are going to turn out great, and others might be awesome and you didn't expect it. But just like anything, I was ready for anything. I was accepting of, like, here, it is what it is. Keep going, move forward, and then turn it into a better outcome than you initially thought it was going to be, because whatever your plans were got sidetracked. And what's that they say? Tell God your plans if you want to make them laugh, kind of thing. And I know that, but knowing that, I say, okay, today we're going to laugh. And I just say, okay, today we're going to laugh. And we just do things that are going to, make him laugh, make me laugh, make somebody laugh. But the point is, we're laughing. It is what it is. Keep it moving, right? So thank you for sharing that. What are you most excited about right now?
Right now, I'm most excited about this this incubator program I have. It's a talent agency for influencers. I've been very private on the internet in my personal life, but it's something that I wanted to have a strength in, right? Any type of, if I have a certain weak muscle on my body, that's what I'm going to be working out the most until it's one of my strongest muscle groups at the gym. And it's the same with anything in life. So I really wanted to make sure that we were leveraging the digital space, and more importantly, helping people to feel like they can be online entrepreneurs in anything that they actually love, in an ethical way, with quality content, not junk content, and in a way that can, like we talked about, get people out of that 9-to-5 corporate life. So we've been really loving doing that. Rather than using generic affiliate deals, I've been getting to go out to businesses locally, be it a boat dealership or a nutrition shop, and negotiate affiliate commissions or brand deals with our influencers. And that's just brought so much more quality to our online presence than if people were to go it alone.
What made you choose that, like influencer? Because everything was real estate and business and construction, but what you went from hard real assets, sticks and bricks, to people, investing in people and taking that energy. What made you, where did that shift come from?
It was a funny story. So I was actually, I was sitting in the car getting ready to go in a networking event. And I had been a week where 5 or 6 different people said, Chloe, you should be an influencer. You have so much interesting content to share, so much to teach the world. You should be an influencer. And I'm sick of people telling me this. You know, I don't want to sit on my phone editing videos all day. So I called Michelle Kiefer. She was the fractional chief marketing officer at a biochemical company that we had been working at. I was negotiating some funding from the government to help with disaster relief in commercial construction. And I knew she was an expert in marketing. I knew she was someone I really respected. I said, hey, Michelle, is there such thing as someone I can take a bunch of videos and take a bunch of raw content, dump it to them, and they can monetize it for me, or they can make an online presence for me? She kind of did her due diligence. She like calls me back a week later. I really don't think there's people who do full service like that, who would fully be able to do that. So I said, okay, well, if you haven't found it, we're going to make it happen. So it really just turned into, how are we serving the community? How are we serving ordinary people, parents who want to spend more time with their kids, out of the same necessity that I had, which is I don't want to be on the computer all day long in order to leverage digital assets.
How do you select your clients? So there's millions of types of influencers. There's, health, usually the top 3 is like health, wealth, and relationships, right?
Yeah.
So is it people in the already popular zones, or is it business people who need to create online? Like, what's your typical client that you like to serve?
So my partners are really more interested in the beginners, the rookies, because we have the ability to train them how to do things in quote unquote an efficient way or in a quality way. I lean more towards people who know exactly what they want, simply because those people tend to be people who already took action and will have the self-discipline to stay consistent with it. But we really serve both. What was a struggle for us in the beginning was finding people who are going to stick with it and who are going to maintain the ethics that we have. But I found, rather than trying to ask people whether or not they can commit and they are going to be consistent and hardworking, when we just communicate who we are and what our values are and are assertive about that, people will back off if they're not ready to do the work.
So they're self-eliminating.
People will self-eliminate. It took about 4 months for us to get through that and really figure that out.
I mean, I'm really intrigued because I'm literally in the middle of creating something to that degree, and I don't know what my grade would be to a person like you, and I'm always curious to hear that, and you don't have to tell me now and dash my hopes, but you can tell me later, like, what do you think of everything you've seen so far today and then moving forward? Because I think obviously that's not something that you commit to like right on the spot. There's a process, right? So I might dig into that further with you, just because I want to see. You mentioned some interesting things, and to be honest, like a podcast, right? Like you have to know that you're probably gonna have to do 50 to 100 episodes before they start to even resonate, and people, your library, because they might not like every episode, every guest. You might just have bad days, right? Till you find your groove, till you can learn to communicate without saying like so much like I do, and all the other little things. Right. But knowing that you're going to have to put in that much work. But how do you get there knowing that each episode costs you X amount of dollars and all this other stuff? For me, sponsorships, right? And we're sitting here and we were just talking about Celsius, which I'm going to be completely honest. I'm going to go after them because we drink the shit out of it, right? Like, and everybody that I talk to is all entrepreneurs, and you either know about it or once you get it, you love it. And it's like, all right, so why not do something with that? So for me, my first goal is to like see what I can do, create a pitch presentation to them just to see what happens, because what am I going to learn? What's going to get a yes and what's going to get a no? But I don't know that I can scale that on a regular basis, trying to keep content going and all these other things. So that's always the struggle, is like, how do you, if this was a river full of rocks and you don't want to drown, how do you keep jumping from rock to rock and not slip and fall into the river of just, you can't do it anymore, you run out of money, whatever. That's how I look at this. It's like a bunch of rocks in a river that I have to jump across, but I want to jump less and kind of
jump said. Less. Yeah. That's the peril of marketing. To your point, I think a lot of people can learn from your example, what you're doing with this podcast, because marketing is just like science. You got to try something out till you have a big enough data set, which is an investment. And then analyze the data, analyze what's working, what's not, keep doing the things that are working. You just got to get in it. Perfectionism is the enemy to it.
Yeah, I did my own kind of homemade demographic study where so here's a little game, free game if you're out there trying to figure out how to figure out your audience, is when you post a bunch of things online, anybody who likes, comments, or says anything, ask them to take this little survey for you because you're trying to do research. And if you can do enough of that, you start to identify who's really paying attention to you and who listens to you because they actually filled out the survey. You're not asking some big company and you're not getting some random email from somebody you barely talk to. The beginning part of that process was, did they react to something? What did they react to and why? And what I found out from that was, like, my audience right now is 70% small business owners and entrepreneurs.
Wow.
Okay. About 65% male. Age ranges of the audience are like the sweets, the biggest, I think it's 70% was like, or 65 was between 35 and 55, right? And of an income level of 100,000 and up, I think we were at like 68%, something like that. I have this somewhere.
Okay.
And some other interesting things like, what do you consume the most? And, Facebook, Instagram, Threads wasn't up yet, but I'm starting to get Threads. But like and Pinterest, I didn't believe that was even valid, but it was up there pretty far.
Sure.
So the point I'm trying to make is you can do a homemade version of what I talked about if you're intentional, knowing that you want those demographics. And now, why did I do it? It was like, I just told you, I want to pitch Celsius. So when I talk to Celsius and say, hey, here's an opportunity to sponsor this podcast, I want to be able to tell Celsius, okay, who's your people? Here's my people. They love YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Guess where we're at? This podcast, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Those are my 3 lanes. Here's where they're going to see you. Here's what podcast, a bunch of information about podcasts and loyalty and building audience and all that. And roll the dice and see what happens. What's going to happen? 2 things. Yes, awesome, or no, because, or but. Well, I'll learn something from it, because so then when I go to the next one, it's like, all right, got to tune up this area. Right. So maybe by 3rd or 4th attempt, I get somebody big. And it's like, it's the same effort as if you were trying to get a mom and pop place to sponsor you as it is to try to get one of these other big guys.
Absolutely.
So either way, the energy you expend, just do it, see what happens, and learn from it, and then take that and do something. And then a year from now, people are going to be like, how the hell did you do that? Well, guess what? Go back on all these podcast episodes, listen a little bit. You can distill it. And it was a free course on just, being an entrepreneur. So that's enough about me. What's your vision for the future?
Oh, my vision for the future. I really am dedicated, my life purpose, to healing society back to a way that's really conducive for humans. And that can be done culturally. That's another reason why I've taken to the digital space and influence in general. I really want to be the best version of myself and people around me to feel comfortable to return to more of a mentally healthy state than the way that some things in the world have been progressing lately. And I think it's really very possible for us.
I'm trying to distill something from that. Like, you're trying to create this vibe, but who's the ideal, not customer, but who do you want to impact the most? Like, I did this before. This is the world. There's men and women in the world. I want to appeal to women and a smaller subset, entrepreneurs and a smaller subset of a certain makeup, or maybe disabled or veterans or whatever, and keep whittling down. So like, who are the people? Who are your people that you want to serve the most? And it looks like this. This is the world. Like, what would you say?
So the way that I view it from my perspective is you have men, women, and children. And when you have healthy families, it serves all of the above. And I see a lot of, not to get political because I'm not political, I'm politically neutral, but you see a lot of culture where men are feeling shamed to truly step into what it means to them to be a man, and women are feeling maybe not comfortable to relax and be feminine. And so that's something that I feel if I help people contribute to healing, that it really will cause men and women to be better in business, cause them to have better relationships in their lives, cause them to be more financially free. It just works.
Would you say that's a spirituality or like a emotional intelligence? Like where's like the leverage point that if you hit these couple dots that all blossoms from for you?
For me, the method of me accomplishing this is teaching people that when you focus on what you do want and be a creator of your own life, to your point, get out there and start doing, and visualize the way that things could be or the way that is healthy for them to be. I think that pretty much solves the problem. You could call it spirituality. You could call it creating a business. You could call it creating a network or a tribe of friends, but really it's all the same thing.
What is the measure of wealth in that? Happiness or satisfaction or purpose? I believe that
it's the best way to generate wealth.
If you're happy, you're going to make money.
Absolutely. If you're happy and if you visualize your future and act on it consistently, don't give up, and immediately reject the things that do not align with the goal and purpose, and continue trying towards the purpose.
All right. So it's not attached to money. It's attached to purpose, happiness. Money's one mechanism, but
money is great, but what good is it if you don't have the other things?
Sometimes more is just more. I mean, it's like more money, more problems, like Biggie said. Sometimes simplicity above all. And certain people have just found like, okay, if my life looks just like this, as simple as this, I can be happy, and it doesn't matter how much is in the bank account because I'm still happy. And whether it goes up and down, I'm still happy.
Yes.
That I get that. So thank you for clarifying that.
I'm a big yes and person. I can build wealth and live a good life with it.
That's my co-founder Jared's favorite thing. He's like, yes and. Why not yes and? Everything is not. It's just and, right? So, I haven't fully subscribed to that just yet. Maybe it's because I got 6 kids, a wife, a bunch of people around me. But I do like and. I try to and as much as possible. But every once in a while, we're like, no.
Right.
Okay, so this is the fun part. This is where we get to trash each other's ideas.
Yes.
You want to go first? And these are the paddles. So when you, so you'll get to see, like, I'll hold up one, and for those who can't see this and just listening, there's a paddles here. There's one that has a trash bag on it, and one that has dollar signs on it.
I love it.
And it's just our way of kind of doing our own internal entrepreneur, Tampa Bay centric Shark Tank amongst friends, and hopefully we still leave friends. Because sometimes you never know how somebody's going to be like, nah, trash. I haven't trashed a lot of ideas yet. I think I've trashed 2, but they always come with a caveat. And that only caveat is kind of like, if this happens, then yes, it's cash. Right now it's trash only because this, and this. So you have a pad in front of you and to write notes for questions, and that's why that's there. I think it helps. And I don't even know what I'm going to talk to you about, but you go first.
I like it. So I wanted to talk, I was excited to just discuss a business opportunity that I haven't had the chance to do due diligence and research yet, so we can really hash it out together.
Cool.
But I'm really interested in showing our audience how maybe if you don't have a ton of capital, you can start leveraging something and start leveraging a partnership into ownership. So here's the idea. We go to a vinyl manufacturer for vinyl records. You and me, Jason. And we white label their manufacturing process, creating in a website or a service where you can create a mixtape. You can pick out your own songs and have them put onto a vinyl. This is something I simply wanted to do myself for a friend. I wanted to get a friend a gift of a mixtape vinyl, and I realized it doesn't exist. But we can make it exist. So going from white labeling, you're getting to know their manufacturing process for the vinyl press. And we can get on some cooperatives like Brands Meet Creators, put some Facebook ads out for a minimal cost to get people to promote our brand online and promote the sales as gifts. Once we reach the $100,000 mark of revenue, then we switch to channel partners. Then we can go to Urban Outfitters. We can go to Anthropology and have them offer our custom mixtape vinyls through channel partnerships. now we're bringing so much business to the vinyl press and manufacturer, we can start negotiating with them. We have insight into their process, and we maybe can find gaps to make it more efficient, to make it more profitable, and slowly also be building the capital to buy them out. And the reason why I feel like this could be a cash idea, you're getting leverage before you put out your own capital. We're getting revenue before we put out a ton of our own capital. And then when I was talking to somebody in the industry last week, I realized there are not enough vinyl manufacturers in the world. So when popular artists come out with their new album, it's very hard for them to find a supplier to get it put out onto vinyl. And a lot of them don't.
It's hilarious, you know. It's cash. You literally just seen my DJ, so you know I'm going to be like, yeah, vinyl's a good idea. It came back as a trend, a heavy trend. Customization is always going to win somehow. It's really, the fulfillment is the tricky part, but you kind of answered that first, right?
I think it might be one that you'd want to tiptoe into.
Well, I think you could definitely do an MVP locally in the right place, and I would say Tampa is the right place because there's enough. Well, Florida. Let's say Florida. Why? Because there's enough DJs, music scenes, and people with a little bit of money to try things like that. Call it the weather. Call it the freedom, the entrepreneur. Call it. But a lot of people would probably say, "Yeah, that's kind of cool." And I could see other things in there. First, merch and things like that. So what's cool is the mixtape was always, back in the day, a way of expressing yourself to somebody. So it's your thumbprint. It's no longer a digital thumbprint. You're taking it back to the essence. It's a physical product. And people, while there's issues with physical products, sometimes with, like I said, fulfillment, having a physical thing could be an NFT. It could also be a marketing channel. I just showed you.
That's a great
I
take.
I just showed you some of the benefits. Like if your label on the vinyl was a QR code that led to a filter of my DJ dancing on it or dancing with you, now that's another add-on. There's a lot of things you can add to a physical product to make it very unique and customizable. The same way you can create filters is, here's a personal mixtape, point your camera at it. Now you're dancing with that person in physical AR space.
Maybe let them make their own characters.
That's a service you can add, kind of like a special, like a custom GIF. I mean, Etsy's big, right? Big enough, and Pinterest. So you're making these customizable records. Obviously there's some scale. Here are some artists. Pick your songs, but we're gonna throw in 2 extras. We just need to know what kind of person you are. So now here's how you release new artists and get them out there in the world. And maybe that artist says, okay, this record got this, the data. Yeah. It played this many times, and now, okay, and here's the bonus. Maybe that's a digital deliverable. It's like, hey, did you like this artist? Yes. Here's a gift from that artist. Dance with that artist and show people on social, because you're an influencer now. You're in an influencer space. Show us how much you love that song. Now it's a TikTok thing. Point I'm trying to make is, when you're in the door, when you get a physical product, you're always looking for a bunch of ways to use it. Maybe you don't have a record player, or maybe you're just gonna rip it one time and keep it digital because you want it in your thing. But if you have that physical thing and everything in that package leads to almost like Easter eggs, like these other things that could, I don't want to say revolutionize anything or kind of flip the industry, but there's a lot you can put into that, because we're able to, put a lot more digital information into things. And the vinyl part, the vibe of it, the initial part, is still attractive because you have something that's special. You're going to want to play it. You might want to sell, not whole turntables to play a record, but like even just like something the size of your cell phone that just plays a vinyl inside of it. You could just clap it on.
Or sell them in a decorative frame, and then the QR code links you straight to a Spotify playlist. All
that. And DJs can just sell their own vinyl with their own mixtapes instead of selling mixtapes. It's like, it's easier to go digital. It's cheaper, but it doesn't feel like anything. If you can customize it, if you can customize your own art, your own message, if you can make it yours, it starts with that. And then here's these add-ons to make it even more dope. That could be definitely another. I could see that in the world. I don't know that it would be like a unicorn thing, but who knows, because of where we are today. Who thought vinyl was coming back like that, right?
Right. Well, it might be a way to bring some generations together. You're bringing nostalgia all the way from our most senior community, all the way through. The mixtape thing was a very 90s thing.
Play a vinyl. Let's say it's my mom. She was into rock and roll from the 50s. And it's like Buddy Holly, all that stuff, right? Uh-huh. Have a way to pull in pictures of my mom so that the record could play, but I could also, if I looked at it through my phone or even on TV, I could see visuals. Like, that's my mom's music and that's my mom, right? Like, so now it's like this memory thing where it's almost like futuristic. It's like almost like a hologram that you're making out of this vinyl that goes with your mom or your dad or somebody you care about, with a physical archive of like the moments of their lives, like we do. Facebook will do a memories thing, and it'll or Google will take the whole year in review. You just dump all your pictures right onto this, and now you got a slideshow that goes with that. Hey, Mother's Day, Mom, here's a record, your favorite thing, all your favorite songs. Put it in your little jukebox. You can even make CDs out of them. Play it and watch this. Point your iPhone at it. It's playing, and things are playing, memories, all that stuff. Now, oh my God. And that's what becomes viral and sticky, because people want to show other people cool stuff. So they're going to be like, oh my God, look at all this stuff that's on this record. That could be good. I mean, that's cash. The right person. You just need the right person.
Boy, Jason, you say sometimes you're not a yes-ander, but I think that was a great yes-and.
You got me.
I think you've got it. You've got it. Yeah, well, I think that's a fun idea. I would even just like if that product existed.
Right? And I'm going to, because I didn't know who to, here's my idea, and it goes with that.
Tell me.
And it's pissing me off that my friend is not doing anything about it, because he's in the perfect position. So I'm gonna tell you what the problem was, and then his solution, and then how this could scale into what you're talking about. It's a music rights app, right? Right now, we all get to use a certain amount of music on all the apps for like 15 seconds before copyright stuff comes in, right? But he worked for NFL Films, and he was like, whenever we need to get like a really appropriate piece, like, songs are a vibe, and I want the rights to that song. Sure. I don't want to go through 20 layers of copyright people and all that. I need it in one day, or we can't use it, because we have live product to do. So I need a fast way to pay for the music rights to something so that I can use it right now, whether it's fractional or what. And maybe it's based off of how many plays it gets, whatever. Let ASCAP and all them figure that crap out. The point is, make it so dead drop easy for anybody in the world to buy the rights to whatever their favorite song is, as long as they want, instead of getting flagged by YouTube or any of the other ones that say, oh, you can't use that video because you didn't pay for it. Let me pay for it. If it's worth it to me, I'll pay a couple cents every play or whatever, because I want that song. It's my memory, right? So in the commercial world, anybody doing commercial or creative work, it makes their job dead easy, because like, well, I don't want to come up with some cheesy ass, AI music. I want that song because it gave me a feeling, and people get with that. And then that gives an artist more music an opportunity to get micropayments, right? Because if 1 million people use your song for 1 minute, that's still, maybe it was $1 for each person. That's still $1 million you didn't have, because one corporation might pay $1 million for a song, but what about 1 million people paying $1? It's the same money, right? You just made it easy for people to get more money in the music industry. Now, imagine that ability with what you just talked about. When you're making this mixtape, you can use original music however you want. You have a certain amount of rights, and then maybe it pays for a little bit more or something like that. But it flows through to the artist. Maybe there's something there, maybe it isn't. But just the music just the music rights app itself, the ease of just being able to use the music you want when you want for how long as you want, and then if you say, well, no, I only want to pay $20. Okay, you get to use it for $20 worth of time, and then it just mutes out. Like, you can't use it anymore. You could pay up. Like, if your movie sucks, like say you made a movie and you used like whatever movie you wanted, and maybe your plans for distribution were, hey, I want to use this for my end credits, my beginning credits, and let's say before you can even put the movie out, they're like, I need $1 million. Well, guess what? How about this? However many plays the movie gets or whatever, here's the count. I'm just going to pay per use, because I don't know what it's going to do. It's a gamble for me. It makes it easier to create, knowing that somebody's just, if it's really good, I'm willing to pay this. Why? Because it's really good
That
and
is
people
really
are paying
good.
for it versus it's a gamble. I don't want to pay for this because I don't know if this movie's going to do that good. So find me something cheaper, and you don't get the full effect of whatever it is you were trying to do.
Sure.
So
You know what?
this
I love
music
that
right
idea.
apps is it. And if you really wanted a VC this, I can put you with the guy.
That would be great. You know why I really like that model that you and this guy came up with is even though it seems like something new and developmental, the concept is tried and true. You know, there's so many, every industry has a purchasing cooperative where the purchasing applications and selling applications are done and submitted to the co-op, and then the co-op just brokers the deal. This is something we see in construction. We see it in hospitality, healthcare, every single vertical. So it's a model that works.
Pay only for what you use, and that could just be by minutes or whatever.
And your brokerage or cooperative, so to speak, doesn't have the liability. It's still technically between both parties.
It's just a SaaS in between.
Awesome! Wow.
So
look at that.
Which one of those is it?
I think that's straight cash.
All right. Well, like, real talk. If you want to talk to my guy, you might be the one to convince him to put the other things down and go do this because he's retired now, so he might as well do something. He's just bullshitting around, to be honest.
I think the setup for that is going to be pretty labor intensive.
Here's the thing. He has intimate knowledge of how they use it in a commercial. So really just going after that first and then trickling it down. The trickle down is going to be where the money comes from, but it has a B2B use already. That's what you need. And then for MVP, and if that proves out to be, lucrative enough, then you spread it out to the masses, because then you're going to have to build extra pieces to it because now it's not centralized, but
Sure.
yeah, it's worth it then because it already proved itself. Or maybe you just never do that. I don't know, but it could still make money. So
I can imagine how fun it'll be. That client base would be so much fun. Creative people.
yeah. I mean,
I like it.
It's the world we live in, the Hollywood to influencer world now.
We love
So
it.
fun? Liked it?
So much fun.
Yeah?
This is great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for showing up today, because not everybody does.
I know it's been a day, but the way you guys have pivoted is impressive.
Yeah, and it's not over yet, but I'm excited to see what happens 3 hours from now. Right now. So,
Absolutely.
last thing, I forgot to ask this a couple other times, but you got any kind of book or resource or podcast or some favorite thing that like really helped you? You obviously have a great mindset, growth mindset. Somebody asks you what's your favorite book, what had the most impact on you, what would or podcast or whatever, what would that be for you? Yeah.
My favorite resource right now, I mean, as entrepreneurs, we all read the same 20, 30 books as each other on entrepreneurship, and that's great. But once you get through that, my favorite thing to do right now, I research a business I'm working in or trying to get more knowledgeable about. And to get specific knowledge, I'll go and creep someone on LinkedIn who is already doing something similar very far away geographically. And then I'll reach out to them and say, hey, can I call up your favorite coffee shop, buy you a cup of coffee over the phone, and get you on my Zoom for 15 minutes to pick your brain? And from that, I get most of my information on entrepreneurship these days, because I have a list of questions I'm asking someone with more seniority than me. Most of the time, they're so kind, they'll stay on for an hour and answer even more questions. And I've really gotten more out of that than any one book that we're reading these days. You get more specific,
that wasn't what I
information.
asked, but it's great because it's a hell of a tactic. Number one, busy people hate, can I pick your brain for a cup of coffee? However, the way you flipped it, find somebody in another country who values that doesn't have that attention. The value of you, an American, calling them from another country, that guard is down now of, now like, you heard about me. And so you just boosted their whole ego. So yeah, they're
I asked nicely. No one's ever said no.
No, I know, but you got to understand, it's not just the way you ask, it's where you asked it from and how you did it.
Good point.
It's not like you didn't say, come to me, come meet me here. You're not accessible to them until you make that phone call. Do you get that?
They don't see me as competition either, because they might be in a different state or a different part of the country.
That too.
I do the same with my haters. Whenever we get comments of negative feedback on social media, I always direct message them and offer the same thing, because they've given us more positive education on how to grow our business than anything.
That's an app right there. What would you call it? Hater side. It's like Somebody hate her, buy them a cup of coffee, send them a gift. Like, boom, done. Wait a minute, where'd this come from? Yeah, thanks for that comment. I know it wasn't a positive one, but I really appreciate feedback because I never know how I'm doing. Next thing you know, that person's your biggest fan and it only costs you like $6.
You're right.
Shit, there's a whole idea right there.
I love it.
Well, I loved having you.
Thank you. So good to see you.
I'm glad I got you here because again, this is always this great energy here, but definitely a different energy. Looking forward to doing other things with you. I don't know what that looks like now. You're gonna have to tell me, but come to the collab right here. Always come visit. We could coordinate a time.
It's a good
and
spot.
I think you did ask me, right? Like you were trying to figure out another place to.
Yeah, and look how great this is. You guys are all. It's a good vibe in here. You guys are all getting things done.
Yeah. There's a lot of them in Tampa, but each one is a different vibe, and I really dig the vibe here.
That's definitely the truth.
Yeah. So how are we
gonna wrap this podcast?
No. It wasn't even that. Normally, my guests have like an Instagram presence or social media. So for you, because you're the Kaiser Soze of influencers, and I know you got to go research who that is, but how does an influencer or somebody who's looking for that kind of service, somebody to rep them, get them sponsorships, product, and everything else you do, that holistic approach, how does one get in touch with you for that?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, Chloe Chery, Cherry with one R. So you can find me on LinkedIn, message me on there. If there's any way that I can better connect our audience or, provide some feedback, anything like that, you can reach me on there directly. Straight
up, just LinkedIn. Don't spam her, guys. Don't spam her. Don't offer. Yeah, I linked in with that. But anyway, all right. So for me, it's the dad next door. For my personal one, it's not LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn is Jason Centeno, but IG, FB, YouTube. Usually our trash emitter. Either way, I'm easy to find. Trash or Cash Podcast. If you haven't guessed that already, .com. You can go to that. Plenty of ways to get a hold of me. If you get a hold of her on LinkedIn, you can always ask her for my information. We do know each other like that. And yeah, I appreciate that. Anything you want to leave our guests with, some kind of motivational quote or favorite saying? I need you to take me out strong, Chloe.
Just get out there, be a doer, visualize, and go forth and execute.
Bang. That's it for us, guys. Trash or Cash Podcast, and we out.
Well, that concludes this episode of Trash or Cash. Make sure you follow on all socials at Trashmitter. That's TrashMitter. And keep up with all episodes at trashorcashpodcast.com.